Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of Thor Ragnarok. Just got out of seeing Thor Ragnarok on Sunday, and just wanted to give it a couple days to sort of just make sure I knew what my opinion was, because I've kind of jumped the gun on things before with both movies and shows. I review an episode of a show or a movie too soon, and I'm like too hyped about it, so I give it like the greatest rating ever, or I don't give it enough time to realize how much I like it, vice versa, that kind of thing. So I like to give things, especially movies, a day or two now, since they're not quite as time sensitive as TV episodes. But yeah, so Thor Ragnarok. I was looking forward to this one quite a bit. I'm a big Thor fan. At least with the movie Thor, I do like Thor in the comics, but Chris Hemsworth's Thor I've always really liked. Like Henry Cavill's Superman, Chris Hemsworth's Thor made me like the character more. And personally, I enjoyed the first two Thor movies, the first one especially. I'll say right now, personally, I even like them more than the Captain America and Iron Man stuff, but don't kill me for saying that. But, in the months leading up to this one, you had heard that Chris Hemsworth, he wanted to do something different with the character, and he was getting kind of tired of, in a way, tired of playing the character, sort of doing the same song and dance with the story. And meanwhile, you have major successes like Guardians of the Galaxy and, Spider-Man Homecoming and stuff like that. So they went to more comedic route, for this movie for sure. There's some saying it's not a comedy, but it kind of is. It's a superhero action comedy kind of thing, really. But before we get more into that, the story basically is this is where Thor and Hulk were at, during Captain America's Civil War and everything like that. Asgard, of course, is attacked by Hela, Cate Blanchett's character, who is really good in this movie. We'll talk more about her in a second. Or, a few minutes anyway, at some point. And then Thor, meanwhile, is, he basically ends up on Sakaar, which basically gives us a very, very brief, version, or, slimmed down version of Planet Hulk, where he sees Hulk has ended up there as well. And, so Thor attempts to find his way back after meeting a Valkyrie, and stop the destruction of Asgard and the beginning of Ragnarok and everything like that. Plus Odin's nowhere to be found. So yeah, it's basically the premise of it. And like I said, I really like the first Thor movies, and I understand from Chris Hemsworth's perspective that he might want to do something a little bit different with the character, and it's obvious from the studio's point of view how they might think a more comedic Guardians of the Galaxy style movie would be a good way to go, because of how much money those have been bringing in. And overall, I really liked Thor Ragnarok. I almost loved it. There are things I really enjoyed about it. I think it was a good time overall. But at first, some of the comedy, it felt like a bit too much at times, especially towards the beginning. Like when Thor is having his conversation with Surtur at the beginning of the film, immediately it's just not taking itself seriously. And, that wasn't that bad, but then it keeps going with that kind of vibe, and it got to the point where it almost felt like a parody of itself, which is unfortunate. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely jokes and moments that definitely worked and were funny, but it got to be a bit much. It got to be a bit overwhelming. Luckily, there's some stuff towards the later half of the movie that made up for it a little bit. But in the first Thor movie, there for me was like a sense of like wonder and sort of, I was engrossed in the world of Asgard and everything like that. But this one, because there's so much comedy, I can't take the story quite as seriously, even though it's Ragnarok. So in a way, they picked an odd storyline to make into a Guardians of the Galaxy style film, which again is unfortunate. Although I do think this film was better than the first Guardians of the Galaxy, personally, I just like Thor more, so it kind of makes sense, I guess. And comedy-wise, it's about on par with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as well, although there's nothing quite like what they do with Yondu in this one. But yeah, I guess that's my main criticism of Thor Ragnarok. There's a bit too much comedy at times. Although some of it worked, some of it didn't. Some of it went on for a little bit too long, I think, and there are situations where there definitely shouldn't have been like a weird one-liner back and forth or something. I didn't feel as invested because the characters weren't taking it seriously like 80% of the time, I don't know. But as far as the performances go, Chris Hemsworth, like I said, I've always liked him as Thor, and I think he was fine here. It seemed like he was having fun like he wanted to. Like I said, there are a couple ones towards the later half of the movie where it does sort of redeem itself and sort of try to go into the chaos of what's going on. And Chris Hemsworth is fine throughout. I think he's gotten more comfortable as an actor, and it shows. So I like Chris Hemsworth a lot, of course. Cate Blanchett's Hela. I think she was a really cool villain, although I think there could have been a lot more of her as well. She is certainly far better than a lot of the MCU villains have been. But it felt like there wasn't enough of her. It felt like there was going to be a lot more time spent on her, but there wasn't. But I still did really like her and Cate Blanchett. She turned in a fine performance. I like Eva Green a lot. Someone surrounded me with like an Eva Green kind of role. But Cate Blanchett was definitely good here. Then you had Mark Ruffalo as Hulk in this. And the Hulk is one of my favorite comic book characters in general. For me, it's Batman, the Punisher, Hulk. Then you have like Spider-Man and others like that. But the Hulk is definitely entertaining here. They've definitely like changed his face a little bit or something, though. He looks like more, I don't know what it is, like handsome. I don't know. I don't want to say handsome, but he looks more just like I don't know, like presentable for some reason. His facial structure. It's kind of odd. I don't know if that's just meant to show that he has more intelligence at this moment, maybe. But like I said, they briefly dip into Planet Hulk, and that is disappointing to see if you're a fan of the Hulk. You know that storyline well. It would have been much better if they just gave him his own Planet Hulk movie. They act like it wouldn't work, but it would, I think. But he's definitely enjoyable here. And, him and Thor's fight was pretty good. And I also like how Hulk comes in handy in, the later part of the movie. Of course he would. And him and Thor definitely have some fun exchanges, both as Hulk and Bruce Banner. And they try to explore, two dueling sides of, Bruce and Hulk. But, again, they make a joke out of it a few times, so it's like you don't really buy into the psychological torment that, Bruce Banner goes through. They don't really take it as seriously in this one, just like everything else. Like, there's a moment where Bruce Banner jumps out of the Quinjet or the ship or whatever it is, and he lands on his neck, and it looks like he basically, killed himself, trying to turn into the Hulk. But, of course, we've heard plenty of stories before of the Hulk not letting him die. We've even had the implication in the Avengers, I think it was, where Bruce Banner tried to shoot himself, and Hulk just wouldn't allow it. So he turned before he could actually. So it was another case of that, but it was one of those times where it definitely felt odd that they'd make a joke out of it. I don't know. And there could have been a lot of other really good Hulk moments in this movie, like where he fights Hela's wolf, type of creature. They jump off the bridge together fighting, and then we don't see him for another few minutes. So it's like we missed the whole, fight scene. It felt odd. And then they teased Hulk fighting Zerder in the trailer too. Him jumping towards him. It's a cool moment at first. Hulk hits him. Zerder actually seems affected, but then they tell Hulk they have to leave. They have to let Zerder destroy Asgard because of what they were planning at that point, which I don't want to explain right now. But it felt like a tease, It felt like there was, this could be a really good Hulk moment. No, okay, no, not that. But wait, there's this other moment. Oh, that was cool. Oh, okay, it's over. There are times like that for sure. Although it was cool seeing when it's Gladiator, Planet Hulk get up for a little bit anyway. Always like seeing the Hulk, though. Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie, I thought she was fine. Although another flaw with her character is that she had these, she was a Valkyrie, so she wanted revenge for her people, on Hela. But she really never has her big moment in the movie, But I thought she was a fine presence. I like her actually arriving and seeing her drunk and stumbling off her ship and everything. It was different. And I think she's a more natural sort of interest for Thor, potentially, than Natalie Portman's Jane Foster was. I don't really mind that Jane Foster isn't in this anymore. Then you had Tom Hiddleston's Loki. I really liked Loki in this movie, He's always been a pretty good villain, but in this one it feels like they actually developed him to a great extent. They could have just had him naturally betray Thor and be another sort of like a secondary villain or something like that again. But with Odin's apparent death in the movie, there's spoilers in the title, so don't blame me. Which is something else that they should have had last a little bit longer. They find Odin on Earth somewhere. I forget where it was. If it was like the Netherlands or Norway, or I don't remember. Sorry. It felt like a really good moment. Odin tells them both that he loves them, and Loki seems a little bit taken back by that. So he actually helps Thor throughout the movie. They have a few squabbles, don't get me wrong, but actually seems like he's changed and developed a little bit. So it makes him feel like a more like a real character as opposed to just a comic book movie villain. So I really liked how Loki was handled, and him and Chris Hemsworth just have some really good banter together. They're definitely the bits of humor in the movie that worked. So, then he also had Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master, the one running Sakaar, at least the gladiator arena type of setup. And I'm not like a big Jeff Goldblum fan. He's been fine in things I've seen him in, but I'm not like part of this whole meme thing that's been started with him and everything. He was alright. I think anyone could have played the role, honestly, but it did feel like it was certainly set up for actor with Jeff Goldblum's sort of mannerisms and everything, so he was alright. Now let me get a little bit further into like the spoilery stuff in the movie. The things I actually did like, where it seemed like it was almost taking itself seriously, was when we seen the true power of Thor after Mjolnir is destroyed. We find out that was like a focusing type of thing for Thor, to harness his power, so, until he was ready to really unleash it, I guess. That's how Odin explains it. Some people don't buy into that, but I think it makes sense, I suppose. Although it's explained in another Thor movie that, there's this big, worthiness surrounding it, only certain people can wield it. Some people have complained about that. They think Mjolnir was more important than the way they explained it in this movie. And it was, I think it was. But just because that was important doesn't mean it's not, meant for a greater purpose after it's gone either. So, I don't know. But I thought Thor's true power was just really, really cool in the movie, where he unleashes more of his, thunder, almost godlike abilities. I think it's actually really awesome. I really like the effects to it and everything. And when Thor actually loses his eye in the movie, sort of mirroring and creating parallel with Odin, of course, I thought that was actually a pretty surprising moment, although it was spoiled for me. Some dick on one of those one of the Facebook feeds I was looking through, just posted a picture he had taken when he's seen it. So a little annoying, but I still like the moment nonetheless. Although I think they kind of overused that music from the trailer, but it was still a good moment for sure. Definitely makes you buy into Thor a little bit more. There's also Idris Elba in the movie, as Heimdall. He was leading some of the Asgardian people out and trying to protect him. He was fine too. And then Asgard is destroyed in the end, by Surtur. They purposely resurrect him to put down Hela. And it seems like he does, but, I think Hela's fate was kind of ambiguous, so I definitely wouldn't mind Hela being brought back, either in if they do another Thor movie, or if they bring her into Infinity War, which I think would be fine. Overall, Thor Ragnarok, I liked it a lot. There's more I could talk about. I was bashing it a lot. I was complaining about the humor, and it did get a bit much at times. But moments like with Thor's true power and some of Loki's development, I think it really made up for it. And overall, I do think it's I don't know, maybe even better than the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, minus the Yondu stuff, which is almost untouchable. But at the same time, there were moments where it could have achieved greatness, but then it stopped or got cut short either by humor or just the scene changing. So I can't quite rate it much higher than this, but I'm still giving it about a B+. I really liked it a lot. Just like I said, it's one of those things I mentioned throughout, kept it from being like an A- or more. But I did like it better than Spider-Man Homecoming, and is it the best Thor movie? Yeah, maybe by a little bit. I'd have to watch the first one again, probably The Dark World again, but yeah, I think so. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Thor Ragnarok if you've seen it. I know in my opinion it seemed really all over the place in this one, but I did enjoy it overall, and I think it was definitely a good time. So yeah, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. And also, there are 2 after credit scenes. We see, as they're choosing to go to Earth, we see a ship, a much larger ship, go over them. And I think it's Thanos, so decent setup for Infinity War. Then Jeff Goldblum scene at the end, so